most of these academic counselors are drawn from the conventional system.
That's true. That's true.
And they have their own ways of doing things.
Yes.
We all do there.
Yes.
What kind of areas and skills that you see that we should provide them to perform these three roles that you identified effectively?
Right. I'll just give you a different answer to this. I am not looking at knowledge base, I am not looking at the skill base. All that our academic counselors, who are, as you rightly said, drawn from the conventional system, need is attitude, attitudinal change. See, what we are looking at from a counselor is the role of an ideal teacher as a facilitator. In a classroom situation, like if say 20 students or 40 students, a teacher, an ideal teacher, gives pays attention to all the people equally. So we need that kind of an ideal teacher in a counselor. If you look at the skills, if we can address these attitudes, the skill component can be easily imported. It is not something very huge, because they are subject experts. So we are not giving them anything on the subject. A biology teacher is now a biology counselor. That's what it is. So we are not going to talk about the biology, but what we are going to give them is how the syllabus has been created for our purposes, or how it can be imparted to the learner. That is one. So subject matter doesn't come there at all. Then the next, how you impart that. So we look at the interpersonal skills, because if they have belief in distance learning, if they have belief in the distance learner, or in the paradigm shift, that is the learner who learns in spite of the teacher or because of the teacher, teacher's role is just a kind of facilitator, then it works very well. The interpersonal skills will be more, because now there is a situation, the teachers are not sages on the stage, they are kind of guides on the side. If they believe in that, then the interpersonal skills also will come automatically. That then comes the question of say evaluation, all these things. They have been doing it. What they are doing in terms of face to face context, we are expecting at the distance. Then right in the commons, they need little bit of sophistication in terms of expressing that written communication. That it is like writing a letter to a friend of us or our children outside say India. We will be very careful. Every word we choose, that it should communicate the proper what we think. So these are the things that we have to impart, and if attitude can be looked at or can be addressed, attitudinal change, these things can easily be incorporated. So if there is a training program, my focus will not be on skills, will not be on the knowledge base. My focus will be on the attitudinal. Is the mindset right for distance learners? Do they take the distance learners as their equals, that they bring some knowledge to the classroom, or they are looking at them as dumb people, that they can't get any opportunity outside in the classrooms, so they have come to the distance learning context, to the situation, then that creates problem. So my training, if at all there is a training component, it will be more on attitudinal change, how we can bridge this kind of gap.
What kind of strategies, training strategies that we should follow in order to impact the kind of attitudinal training that you are focusing on, or for that matter, to some extent the kind of the skill level training they would require? What kind of strategies would be useful for training the large number of academic counselors that we have?
Because say as the statistics shows, we have about 20% of the people who are in higher education or in the distance learning provision, which means we need quite a lot of counselors. And if our focus is that we have to build the learner support effectively so that ODL system will grow, I think your question is very pertinent. How we are going to train all these people at a distance or face to face, and what are the technologies or strategies that we use? I don't have one single answer for it, because one size doesn't fit all. We have to create that kind of situation. But what I feel is that that should be a multi-pronged approach, even on the selection level, because we assume a person holding say PhD in a particular subject or is an effective teacher in a classroom will also be an effective counselor, or a person who will be effective in a distance learning context. First we have to address that notion, whether that is true. So even the selection process, that will give us some kind of idea who we should select. So when we look at how we are going to do that, it's not an easy thing. We have to interact with them, we have to create a questionnaire and send, whether say like will you be interested in joining Indira Gandhi National Open University or Tamil Nadu Open University to be a counselor. If you want to do it, please fill in this, and after this there will be an orientation program or a training program. Will you be able to come here? So what we are trying to impart there is that they have to undergo some kind of training. Supposing we selected some people for the training context, how are we are going to do it? One way is the face to face, everybody does it. The moment you say they talk about their subject, they are not going to listen to you. So because they are the subject experts, and immediately there will be a resistance. Who are these people who teach me? Because I have been teaching my subject for about 20 years and suddenly they are bringing me here and they are going to talk about this. So we cannot concentrate on that. Supposing I talk more about distance learning, the merits of distance learning, they will immediately say, okay, this person is working in the Open University, so he has to talk about distance learning. Again, there may not be any belief in that. So what I would do is, if it can work, and that in fact I tried also in the West Indies, the reflective practitioner kind of approach. We go to the classrooms, we shoot all the transactions, teaching learning transactions there, we capture all of them, we meet at one day, bring all these video clippings and show them, say this is the question, this is the answer. Do you think that you can you could have given a better answer, and why this question has emerged at all? So there is some problem in the university, because most of the problems to me are created by the university. If we don't send materials in time, for example, a counseling cannot be scheduled. Supposing you already scheduled the counseling and materials are not available, then there will be a problem. So these are the things that perhaps we can make the counselors understand. So through reflective practitioner programs, that we can do that. Now how we can reach many people at one time? Through media. It could be we can use EduSat, we can go to VSAT, it can be video program, audio programs, whatever, because technology is now available. And again, going back to my earlier statement, technologies are available. Now we have to now use them innovatively. So I don't have one focused answer for this, because it varies from one group to the other. If you are thinking about say India, the needs of people who are in Tamil Nadu or in Andhra or in Madhya Pradesh, there will be different needs. So these people have to be used to address those needs, for which the university or whoever is giving the training program has to have all the details. It should not be like, okay, I have some 10 years of experience in teaching, so I can float a training program. It does not happen that way. You have to sit with them, discuss with them, draw the needs and see how it matches with their objectives, whatever, then we provide that. The moment we make them feel that they are also partner in this training program and make them believe that they own the responsibility, then things will move smooth and there is no attitudinal problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Dr. Murugan,
Yes.
for joining us and sharing your views. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.